One of the most common questions I get with webinars is, what are my KPIs? What should I be shooting for? What's my cost per lead? What's my show rate? And if you don't know these numbers, you could be shooting yourself in the foot, turn off something good, or completely blow money on your ads by not hitting the right metrics. In this video, I'm gonna be sharing every single metric that we look for with our clients, and I'm gonna be showing you an actual dashboard where you can go in and plug in the numbers so you know what you should be doing, what you shouldn't, and how you can make more money. My name is Michael, and I run a marketing agency. We've been advertising for almost a decade. We do over 300 webinars per year, and so we have all of the data and all the metrics to show you exactly what you should be hitting. This channel is dedicated to helping you run better webinars and making more money with live events. If this is something that's been a problem to you, stay tuned. So on this sheet right here, we have our KPI, and I'm gonna go through 4 different metrics: bad, okay, good, and great. Now, the important thing about this is that the one KPI that actually matters over all KPIs is your ROI, revenue, ROAS, right? Your return on ad spend, your return on investment, that's the only thing that actually matters, okay? If all of these KPIs are in the red, but that one is in the green and you're making a 5, 6, 7, 10x ROI, don't worry about being in the red. But if that one is in the red or in the yellow and you're not getting the revenue and everything you need, these KPIs will give you an idea of where you should be and which bottlenecks you need to fix. Now, we work with a bunch of different brands, okay? So this is kind of a blanket for all of the brands that we work with. Your business is gonna have different metrics, and you'll end up finding which metrics work best for your business as you've made optimizations and looked at the revenue that comes in from each of these events. Now, these are the most important metrics that we track. So your link click-through rate essentially is how many people saw your ad and then they click through to the next page. Usually under 1% is a bad click-through rate. You get this with a lot of images. If you have good videos, you're usually above a 1%, but that doesn't necessarily mean the images are bad, but just pay attention to try not to be under 1%. Okay is 1 to 1.5, good is 1.5 to 2%, and great is 2% plus. If you're consistently getting 2% plus, usually you're in a pretty good territory, and that gives you an idea of how good your ads are. Click-through rate's important because this really defines whether people like your ad or not. If thousands of people are seeing your ad and no one's clicking through to it, that means your ad sucks, okay? That's a really important metric just to look at, just to define whether like people give a shit about your ad or they don't. Page conversion is next. Most of the time we're looking at anything under a 20% page conversion, we usually don't deem as very good. 20 to 25% is about average, 25 to 30% is good. And if you're above a 30%, that's great. And again, these are for webinars, right? Leads, $20 cost per lead and above is usually not very good. There are different instances where we have clients that have a really high cost per lead, but they get really good quality. So again, don't live and die by this sheet, but it's good for you if you don't know your KPIs to look at. $12 to $20 is okay. $7 to $12 is good. And then under $7 is a great cost per lead. It's not as common that you get under $7 with really, really high quality. Recently, especially with this new Andromeda update, I get a little worried if my cost per lead is like $5, $6, because it doesn't drive the highest quality. That's for a different video though. So show rate on your webinar, if you're below a 15%, that's pretty bad, right? You do not wanna have 100 people and only 15 of them show up, 14 of them show up, or have 1,000 people and only 12% of those people show up, 120, 150 people, right? Decent is 15 to 20%. 20 to 25% is good. If you're in a 20, 25% range, like that's good nowadays, especially if you're doing cold traffic. And this is all, I'm doing this based off of cold traffic, like you're running ads. If you're running a warm webinar to your organic audience and you can't get 25 to 30% of people to show up, you have a big, big, big problem. This is all cold, people who don't know who you are and they're opting in through a paid ad. Your booking rate on a webinar, if you're under 10%, that's usually not very good. You wanna be a 10 to 15%, 15 to 20%. If you're above a 20%, you've got an amazing booking rate, right? That means 20% of the people that show up to your webinar and booking a call, you're absolutely fucking crushing it, right? There's a lot of people that are booking calls and you're gonna end up with typically a pretty high quality webinar, high ROAS, right? So next one is sales rate. This is basically in the same thing as booking rate. It's just depending on what your CTA is on your webinar, right? If you're sending people to book calls, sell a high ticket, that's your booking rate. But at the end of your webinar, if you're selling direct to cart, that's what we call our sales rate here, right? And so if you're under 5%, where you're basically sending people to go actually buy something then and there, that's not a very good metric, right? Like you're not gonna make any money if you're under 5%. That means like your webinar was bad, your offer was bad, you need to fix that, right? If you're between 5 to 7%, that's okay. 8 to 9%, that's pretty good. You wanna be 10% plus. Typically, if you're 10% plus and you're selling anywhere between like $1,000 to like $2,000, you're gonna have a pretty good webinar, right? Closing rate is next, and this is only if calls are booked. Under 10%, your sales team needs to get fucking fired, okay? That's an awful close rate, especially on a webinar. Remember, if you're running something like a VSL or really, really cold traffic or like a lead form or just filling out a form and you guys are jamming the phones, then like, yeah, 10%, under 10% is probably fine. But if you got somebody that shows up to a webinar, hangs out with you for an hour, 2 hours, and your sales team can't close 10%, you're in some serious trouble, right? Next is 10 to 20% is like a good rate. So like 10 to 20%, 20 to 30% is a great rate, a good rate. 30% plus is an amazing rate. If you can get 30% plus, you will absolutely crush it, right? Where we're actually seeing things nowadays is kind of more like in the yellow, right? When you have really good salespeople, you're looking at the 20 to 30%. It's very rare that you're getting a 30% plus, right? And the last but not least is your return on your ad spend. You don't really want to be under a 2x. Now, some businesses may make sense being under a 2x. Like if you're selling directly on the webinar and you've got something on the back end you can sell, totally fine. You can be under a 2 as long as you know the lifetime value will turn into 4, 5, 6, right? 2 to 3x is okay. 3 to 4x is good. If you're above a 4x, scale your webinar. Spend more money on it because a 4 is really like that kind of like sweet spot right now where if you're above a 4, you can afford to lose a little bit by spending more. Meaning that like if you spend $10,000 on a webinar and you hit a 4x ROI, you could spend 15 and you might hit a 3 to 3.5. So you've got that cushion to spend and you need to scale that webinar up, right? I also have VSL down here. We're not gonna cover that right now, but if you actually want this entire sheet, you can click below. I'll have a link. It's completely free. Hopefully it helps you and kind of keep this handy. And then I'm also gonna go into the second piece of this sheet, which you also get if you download it, is the data that we wanna actually track and actually plugging in these numbers. Now I've put in false data here so you can just kind of see how it works, but these are the numbers that we're tracking or the metrics that we're tracking on all of our webinars. Now with our clients, we personally track like 70 to 80 different metrics. Some of them are a little bit overkill, but it's because we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per month with these clients and we have to hit the perfect metric to try to fix it. So if we're not hitting the revenue that we need, we have to know pinpoint what is that bottleneck. This right here is gonna give you a good idea of what that bottleneck is. Then eventually, as you start to spend more money, you can add a little bit more metrics in here, right? And so first, we're looking at our CPM. Like this is from like a numbers perspective. So you see blue is numbers, you've got percentages in orange, and you've got actual money in green right here. Now, from a numbers perspective, the first thing that we're looking for if you're running ads is on the front end. This is important because you wanna know like every single webinar that comes up, you wanna go and let's say for example, right here, we've got a $70 CPM. Next one's a $72, but then randomly on the third webinar that you track, it's like $120 CPM. And you're trying to figure out why is the cost so high? Why aren't people converting? Why didn't I make as much money? It's because the cost to get in front of 1,000 people changed, right? And so this is so important for you to make more money on these and to know why something worked or didn't work. When you don't have these metrics, you're just gonna start guessing. You're gonna continue to guess. You're gonna say, oh my God, we didn't make money. What happened? What was wrong? Your marketer's the fault, your salespeople the fault. No. Plug this in right here and it'll tell you exactly what the problem is. We track CPMs, click-through rate, cost per click. We track the visitors on the page. We track the amount of leads you got, leads from your organic, total leads in general, live attendees, people that got pitched. This is an important metric, how many people were pitched at the webinar, calls during the webinar, total calls, closes, etc. These are all just the numbers, okay? Some of the most important metrics that I don't think too many people necessarily track are number one, pitched. So out of how many people showed up, how many of them were pitched? Because what this tells you is that how good was your presentation, okay? If your presentation sucked, you will see a massive drop off from people that showed up to the people that got pitched, okay? And then you wanna see calls during webinar. Calls during the webinar tell you how good your offer was during the webinar. All of these have different reasons. They have different metrics, they have different bottlenecks. And if one of these is out of place, you can pinpoint that bottleneck and you can go in and actually fix it. Now, your percentages. You wanna look at your sign-up percentage, your show-up percentage, your show-to-pitch percentage is what I'm talking about right now. How many people showed up, how many people got pitched, your pitch-to-call percentage, out of how many people pitched, booked a call, right? Very important metric because the amount of people that get pitched, if they don't book a call, what does that mean? That means your pitch sucked. That means that you made a mistake during the pitch, your offer wasn't good, you slopped it up, they're just not gonna book a call, or show to sale, right? And then you got show to call, so out of how many people showed up, how many people booked a call, then you've obviously got your closing percentage right here, which is obviously one of the most important metrics, especially for your sales team to make sure that they're closing deals, right? Now, spend, cost per lead, total cost per lead, cost per attendee, cost per call, cost per close. Now, these are the metrics that most people pay the most attention to, but they're the ones that are probably the least important in terms of finding your bottleneck. These right here in green are gonna be the ones that stand out the most for you to dig into the other metrics, because Your cost is what everybody cares about. They care about how much you spent, they care about what your cost per lead was, they care about how much money you made. But at the end of the day, your percentages are usually what actually dictate the movement of your webinar and how to fix these bottlenecks. So in this case, you can see, let's say we spent 10K, we got $10 cost per lead, $33 cost per attendee. Cost per attendee is actually really cool because then you can see how much it costs for somebody to actually show up to the webinar, not just your lead cost, because your cost per attendee is a deeper metric that'll define the people that are actually on the webinar itself. Cost per call, cost per close, revenue, ROAS, net cash, ROAS, right? One thing that we want to look for is net cash, not necessarily revenue, right? So this entire dashboard right here is going to give you everything you need. All you have to do, come in here and plug some of these in, plug and play. Again, you're going to want to do these for every single one. If you're not doing these and a webinar goes wrong, you're going to panic and you're not going to know exactly why. But this is going to get you a really good head start so that you can figure out what's wrong. So right now, if you're experiencing fatigue in your webinars, you're experiencing lower revenue, you're experiencing lower show rates, higher cost per lead, use this spreadsheet, plug all your information in, and you will literally see clear as day, what is the problem? What's the bottleneck? What do you need to go fix? But I hope this video was helpful for you because it's a little more technical, but it's really gonna help you get past that layer that you've been stuck at so you can actually go out, you can make some more money. All right, see you in the next video.